Hello, everyone. My name is Jen Swanson. I'm one of the ministers here at Inlet United Church in lovely Port Moody. And Julie Lebrun is the other, and I don't think she'll be on our call tonight because she's busy moving her family over to Salt Spring, her daughter and son-in-law and granddaughter. So. But this is our fourth in the session, four-part wellness speaker series session that's sponsored by Inlet United. And we originally had this series booked to be in person, and then COVID happened. So here we are with the brilliant technology of Zoom, and we're really glad that you're all here tonight. We ask that you keep your mics on mute during the presentation. Of course, you'll be invited to ask questions. You can ask questions verbally when it's time, or you can type them into the chat and I'll keep track of them, and we can ask Jennifer at the end. And before I introduce her, I would like to acknowledge that this event is being brought to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, including the Coquitlam, the Musqueam, the Squamish, the Tsleil-Waututh, the Kwantlen, and the Katzie First Nation. And it is with gratitude that we recognize the care and stewardship of this land down throughout the generations. So I am just going to make spotlight video, and I would like to introduce you to Jennifer Lloyd. Jennifer's been on a few of our sessions as a participant, and she is a registered holistic nutritionist and a certified health coach. And I'm reading from her bio. Long before she started Eat for Living, Jennifer had an insatiable curiosity for holistic health, alternative medicine, and kitchen creativity. And today, as a registered holistic nutritionist with a focus on gut health and a certified health coach, she has infused her passion for health into her programs and workshops and classes. And so welcome again to this place.
Thank you so much, Jen. And thank you for inviting me to be a part of this series. I'm quite honored. And just as I started up, my neighbor started his lawnmower. Is that bothering anybody? Should I shut the window? Yeah. It's okay? All right. Otherwise, there'll be a puddle. So.
I can't hear it.
Okay, good. So my talk tonight is, what's your gut feeling? Of course, that's a bit of a loaded question, and I will explain. So 5 years ago, well, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, nobody really knew they even had a microbiome. And today, most of us know that gut health is important, and it's important to our overall health, but I think you might be surprised to know to what extent it's important. So it turns out the foundation to, okay, that lawnmower is bothering me.
There you go.
Sorry. It turns out the foundation to our total health resides right here in our gut microbiome. It's linked to everything from lack of energy to arthritis to weight issues, all the way to diabetes, heart problems, autoimmune, our modern day neurological diseases like MS and Parkinson's, digestive problems, and a whole lot more, and unfortunately even cancer. It's responsible for our physical and our mental health. So I'm thrilled to be here tonight sharing with all of you my absolute favorite topic, gut health. It's something you probably haven't studied unless you're a food geek or a little bit of a science geek like I am. And I will tell you that it can make for some pretty dry reading. So I promise you the talk will not be as dry as all my studying that I've done. So who am I to be giving you this talk? I am Jennifer Lloyd, and I'm the founder of Eat for Living. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist certified health coach, and I also have my practitioner's certificate in gut health. So as you will learn later in this talk, I have good reason to develop a passion for holistic health, for alternative medicine, and how I developed my kitchen creativity. It's this passion that I infuse into my workshops, my classes, and as well with my one-on-one work with my clients. I am a total believer in a refreshing approach to health. I don't think that it has to be one of deprivation or something that we dread. I've designed my whole practice around taking the overwhelm out of being healthy and how to put the fun back into food. Because let's admit it, we all love food, right? It's this transformation of over 200 clients that inspires me. And it's also why I'm with you here tonight. I hope to help inspire some transformation in you. So tonight I'm going to talk about the basics of gut health. I'm going to talk about how we got to this place of living with chronic modern day illnesses, how restoring our gut microbiome is a total game changer. And then I'm going to share 5 real-time solutions that you could start right away to help yourself feel and look much better. I've designed a handout as well that you can download towards the end of this talk, and we'll leave lots of time to answer any questions. So are you ready? You ready to dig in? What would you think if I told you we're not really human, or we're not mostly human? Are you still with me? We have 100 trillion bacteria cells living in and on our bodies. And that's actually 10 times more than we have human cells. So you crunch those numbers, and we're only 1/10 human. So you could say that we are actually bacteria having a human experience. It's true. It turns out that our microbiome, our 100 trillion little bacteria friends, as I've said before, are responsible for our health. And they determine more about your emotional and mental well-being than you ever imagined. Our microbiome is being called the invisible organ. 3-pound invisible organ, I'll have you know. And it's these bacteria that actually weigh the 3 pounds in and around our large colon. And an interesting point is that our second brain weighs 3 pounds, and our first brain also weighs about 3 pounds. I think that's kind of interesting. But these 3 pounds in our second brain are made up from, in a healthy microbiome, anywhere between 12 and 1,500 different species. They all reside there. And as science, as all of this stuff is emerging with the science and of it all, the species are forever changing. But just know that we need our good basics. And a lot of us are lacking, actually. And we'll find out why later. So a well-populated gut microbiome is definitely where it's at. That is what you want to have. You want 3 pounds of bacteria. Yes, even in COVID times. We've heard it described as our second brain and as our gut feeling. So surprisingly, all the neurotransmitters and neurons transmitting back and forth, there's actually 8 times more messages going from our second brain to our first brain than the other way around. So honestly, it makes us really question who is in charge here. Yeah. So many seemingly unrelated conditions, arthritis, allergies, autoimmune, IBS, autism, and we can't forget dementia and Alzheimer's. Nobody's laughing? Didn't think that was funny? We can't forget dementia. Okay. All of these problems start in the gut. So you want to fix your health? You need to start with the gut. Are you still with me? Taking care of our gut health is not, and I really express, it is not another dietary fad. It is a breakthrough in our understanding of the human body and how our health actually works. Or shall we say, our bacteria body. It is a total game changer, looking after your gut health. Unfortunately, our modern day diets and our lifestyles have taken their toll on our little friends, and it's resulted in exponential rise in chronic illnesses. I think all of us have either experienced it ourselves, or we know several people with our modern day chronic illnesses, even arthritis. So nobody is left unscathed here. So how did we get here to this place of poor health on such a large scale? I won't spend much time explaining this because it could be a whole talk all on its own, and it is actually several books and many, many podcasts if you choose to listen to them. But let's just say it starts with commonplace cesarean births, starts with formula-fed babies, and it starts with our phobia for dirt and germs. Say hello to hand sanitizers and antibacterial everything. And I get it, during COVID, that's a bit of a different talk, but this is going back years now. So it has done its damage. And then we have the food manufacturers' brilliant marketing of packaged and processed foods. We add in factory farmed meats, environmental toxins. That includes, ladies, the toxins and preservatives in the beauty products we use as well. But you put all of this together and we have a big problem. I'm going to tell you a little story of a girl growing up in the beginning of this era of food manufacturing. And she had it all going on. Her mom worked full time. She had 2 younger brothers. Life was really busy. And the convenience of packaged foods was a blessing for the family at that time. Carnation instant breakfast. Anybody remember those? Yes. Hostess Twinkies, Ding Dongs, the all-time favorite TV dinners, Salisbury steaks and fake mashed potatoes. Yep. Seldom did this family eat together because they were always on the run, back and forth to events and dance class and piano. But when they did eat, it was in front of the TV, so it was distracted eating. Antibiotics were prescribed at the drop of a hat or the drop of anything off your nose. First hint of any illness. And what I remember most of my youth, so yes, that little girl was me, was how terrible I felt. Although at the time, I didn't know there was anything different. And I thought that's how everyone felt. Who knew? I had constant stomach aches. Some days were worse than others. My energy was really low, and as was my mood. As years went on, I stayed in that place of ill health. And actually, my health spiraled downward with hormonal issues. I was plagued with digestive issues, years of one flu bug and cold after another. Let's just say I wasn't living my best life. Unfortunately, this isn't an uncommon story. Our modern day nutrition, our lifestyle habits, and the overuse of antibiotics have all contributed to wreaking havoc on our health. The good news is that today I have 100 trillion friends and I feel fabulous. I do. I'm not talking about Facebook friends. I have real friends. You know I'm talking about my microbiome. So are you wondering how I made all of those friends? How did I restore my gut? And how can anybody restore their gut? With the power of food. Okay, add in a few little key lifestyle tweaks as well. But we're not feeding ourselves when we're eating. We're feeding our gut microbiome. Actually, most of what we're eating is feeding our friends. And remember those numbers that we crunched? So 10% of what we eat actually feeds our human cells, and 90% goes to feeding and nourishing our friends. So what do we feed them? It's lots and lots of greens, plant-based carbs, and proteins. By the way, that means vegetables, all of them. They provide a rich and diverse diet for our friends. The combination of soluble and insoluble fibers is what actually feeds the bacteria in your colon. And it's this digestive process, the bacteria eating the fibers, and what comes of that is what creates our immune system. That's what creates our health. So if we're not feeding the good fibers, our bacteria cannot flourish. Your flora can't flourish. So I promised I would share 5 real-time solutions you could implement to start feeling better right now. And I will. I need to say that I might have, pun intended, bitten off a little more than I can chew, keep this super simple and not get into the science of it all. So here I go. Any ideas what number 1 would be? Sugar. It's sugar. Cut the sugar. It sounds simple, but you might be surprised at the hidden sugars lurking in our foods. Sugar feeds and nourishes the bad or pathogenic bacteria. So if we're trying to feed the good, think of sugar as feeding the undesirable friends. And as parents, we know we don't want undesirable friends, right? Number 2, avoid processed foods. Sounds simple again, but that means anything that comes in a box, a bag, or a can, or has any more than 3 and maybe 5 ingredients listed on the label. Think everything from Doritos to ketchup. We need to try to avoid those or find some healthy swaps. And if you're looking for any ideas with that, I have lots. So ask away at the end, or go on my website and there's a lot of recipes on there as well. Number 3, avoid unnecessary antibiotics. So don't get me wrong, we need antibiotics and they have saved countless lives. But they're the big guns and they kill indiscriminately and they kill the good and the bad bacteria. So we don't want, it's really tough once you've had the big guns come in and wipe out your microbiome. It takes a while to rebuild that, and you need to make a very focused, conscious effort to be able to do that. Number 4, slow down, breathe, and digest. In our fast-paced world, we tend to live in the sympathetic nervous system. And that is our fight or flight mode. And in that mode, our heart beats faster, our blood circulates faster, the blood goes to our extremities so that we can run from that saber-toothed tiger. So it's going away from your digestion, which means it's absolutely impossible to digest properly when we're in this state. We need to be able to switch from our fight or flight to our rest and digest system. And I'm going to give you a really good trick for that. Actually, before we talk about a little bit, when we live in our fight or flight, have you all heard of people with adrenal fatigue, cortisol problems, and poor digestion? That is all directly related to us not having downtime. So back to how do we digest? How do we switch to rest and digest? It's simple. We need to breathe. So I'll share my little trick and you can all practice with me right now if you like. So as you sit down at your table to eat dinner, breakfast, whatever it is, I want you to consciously breathe. Take in a breath through your nose and imagine it going all the way down to your belly button, and then back out. And do that 3 times. You have just switched modes and you are now ready to digest. Your body can produce digestive enzymes, your hydrochloric acid in your stomach can get going, and your digestion will hum. So my next favorite topic is number 5, what you can do to help your microbiome. And it's fermented foods. Are all of you, any of you familiar with fermented foods? Yay! So every culture throughout history has had their fermented foods. The Koreans have kimchi. The Eastern Europeans and Germans have sauerkraut. We have miso, tempeh, kombucha, kefir, even yogurt. And I think, and I keep hoping, red wine might fall into this somewhere too. But I don't think it does. I still like fermenting grapes though. The synergy of fermented foods is amazing. And so especially kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut have the prebiotics, which is that fiber we talked about earlier that our bacteria needs to feed on. So it has the prebiotic fiber and the probiotic foods right in one jar, one dish. We don't need a lot of it. We use sauerkraut, say, or kimchi as a condiment. It's not a huge part of your meal. It aids digestion. Most people feel a big difference when they start adding at least the very precise measurement of a forkful to a meal. That's all that's necessary. And then for any of you that do use sauerkraut or even make your own, the juice from the sauerkraut can be used instead of vinegar in a salad dressing. And voila, you have probiotics. Yes. So I definitely have a food first philosophy with my clients, and I prefer them to stick to naturally fermented foods as the mainstay, and then add on a probiotic supplement when necessary. So I love the synergy of eating whole foods as my supplements and getting my clients to do the same thing. I think the definition of synergy is that it's more, the whole is more than the sum of its parts. Meaning if we took a vitamin, extracted a vitamin from a food and just took that supplement, we get more out of eating the whole food than we do that little piece. Does that make sense? Yes. So it's far more complicated than these 5 steps, but by combining all of these principles and working with my clients to create individual nutritional and lifestyle protocols, the results are nothing short of life-changing. I'm constantly amazed with the healing power of food. I just cannot say it enough. So once we truly get that connection between how we feel and what's on our plates, it forever changes the choices that we will make. It takes us out of that feeling of deprivation, saying, oh, I can't eat this, to, oh, I only want to eat this because I feel so fabulous. So it's part of a mindset as well. So there's no doubt that modern day nutrition is confusing. There's an overwhelming amount of information out there. And I even have a hard time keeping up. But that is my job, is to take this, huge amount of information and funnel it all down into nice, simple, sustainable habits that I can help my clients move on with. But the diets out there right now abound. I mean, there's low fat, no fat, high fiber, low carb, keto, paleo. One day coffee is good for us, and next thing I hear, it's on the carcinogenic list. So it's hard to keep up. No doubt. But let's say that science is ever evolving. But the one thing that I've realized in my years of practice is that whole, fresh, grown in nutrient-dense soils, plant-based foods never go out of style. It's not a fad that comes and goes. Definitely green is the new black. So I'm going to leave you with a fairly new concept to chew on. Again, pun intended, yes. Food can change everything. How we live our lives is directly related to what's on our plates. So here's what a food geek I really am. And I believe that the food choices that we make, what we eat, feeds our microbiome. Our microbiome in turn determines our health, and it's our health that determines how we live our lives. Our mood, our energy, the fabulous human characteristics or traits like spontaneity and creativity, they just don't happen in a body that is barely getting by, barely making it through the day. We need vibrant health for all of that to happen and to come together so that we can truly live our best lives. I'm going to tell you one other story. I had a client, and let's call her Sally. When Sally came to see me, she had been to many specialists, and she was on a ton of medications. She was for all different ailments. She had rheumatoid arthritis, and any of you that know or live with that, or even just osteoarthritis, it's joint pain and it's swelling, and it is not pleasant. She had unexplained skin rashes, suffered from depression, migraines, and she was even pre-diabetic. So before I say any more, I want to explain that we are holistic beings, and Sally had been sent to many specialists along the way and treating us like we are individual organs. So say if you have a kidney issue, our doctors would send us to a urologist. If we had skin rashes, we'd go to a dermatologist, and never do they communicate with each other. So, and I think that's where some of the problems lay. So when we look at Sally's list of symptoms, most of those, or all of them, are actually inflammatory in nature. So what did I do working with Sally? Of course, I started with her gut. I cleared out some of the bad bugs. We brought in some of the good. Remember those 1,200 to 1,500 species that live down there? We need to keep a good balance happening. We put her on an anti-inflammatory diet. We added some fish oil and vitamin D. Basics, really, simple stuff. But within 2 months, her doctors had taken her off several of her medications. She was pain-free, enjoying life a hell of a lot more. And to boot, she had lost 15 pounds. All with the power of food. Yes. So I have for you, if any of you are interested in taking this any further, a good basic first step, and it's a program I designed called the 5 Day Reboot. I've made it free for you tonight, and I'll leave it up free for a couple of weeks so everybody has time to download it. It's a simple and doable 5-day program. It's an all done for you program. It has a meal plan, the grocery list, all the recipes, and of course all the tips and tricks that you need along the way. I've also included in that a 20-minute session with me, a video call, to help you put your plan in action to move towards the goals that you're looking to achieve. There we go. Can you see my?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so we got the healthy gut. And again, nothing affects your gut health more quickly and more powerfully than the food you put in your body. So the 3 steps, and we went over 5. So it's reducing the bad. It's what you put into your body. We're going to add in the good. And the 5 Day Reboot is designed for that. All designed to help you. And then it's don't forget, stress, sleep, and exercise. Breathe. And here's your healthy gut questionnaire. Do you need me to read them out, or?
Maybe for Sven, because he's listening and doesn't have a visual.
Oh, okay. All right. I crave sugar, bread, and or alcohol. So just kind of keep your fingers up keep a tally of what resonates with you. I eat the same breakfast most mornings. I suffer from heartburn, GERD, or acid indigestion, or reflux. I frequently feel drowsy or tired after eating. I have had times in my life when I frequently had antibiotics, i.e. as a child, in my teens, or I've had a bout of food poisoning in the past 5 years. I frequently feel bloated and gassy. I take ibuprofen or other NSAID drugs or Tylenol regularly. I have seasonal allergies and or food allergies, asthma or eczema. I suffer with depression and or anxiety. Living with an autoimmune disease is part of my life, i.e. rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, Hashimoto's, multiple sclerosis, or inflammatory bowel disease. So as you can well guess, if you scored 0 to 3, you are doing well. You're health gut champion, but keep an eye on it. If you scored 4 to 6, well, we all need a tune-up once in a while, and it would seem it's time for your gut health check. You can all read that. So
yeah.
A score of 4 to 6, I would suggest the 5 Day Reboot or taking advantage of that free 20-minute call with me. A score 7 to 10 is a warning. Your gut health is in need of a high performance tune-up. Seeking the guidance of a nutritionist is recommended at this time to keep food fun and delicious while transforming your energy, focus, and sleep. How was that?
That's helpful.
Good question, Jen.
Sure.
Jennifer, sorry. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's okay.
Do you consider IBS an inflammatory bowel disorder?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, okay.
IBS is really just I'm trying to get my screen back, sorry. There.
I think it's one of those things that there's no explanation.
Yeah, it's a conglomeration of symptoms that the medical profession really just can't put their finger on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to get us back here.
At the top of your screen, it should say end screen sharing.
Oh, stop share.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm back.
You're good, Jen.
Oh, I'm learning. Oh, this whole online thing is new, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, sometimes it makes you want to scream.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Or log off. Any questions?
I'm going to unmute Sven in case he has a question.
Sure.
So I have a question. It's Diane.
Hi, Diane.
When somebody has to go on antibiotics, what's the best way to rebuild your healthy flora?
Okay, so there are probiotics designed to be taken with antibiotics or during the course of your antibiotics, not at the same time, at opposite ends of the day. And then we work really hard and focused on feeding your gut the right fibers and the right foods to rebuild it all. And I would focus on some fermented foods, get as many as possible in there, and also to have a good broad-based probiotic with as high a concentration as you can find afterwards. It takes about 6 months to bring it back up.
6 months. Whoa.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, someone else.
Go ahead.
Speaking. I was going to say, how for the newbie,
Yeah.
it's not. I've asked when I've gone on antibiotics, I don't find the pharmacist particularly helpful at directing me to probiotics.
Oh, okay. One brand that I really do care for, and I've been on several training sessions with that company, is called Renew. And other than the professional lines that you get through a naturopath, this is one that you can get at, say, Palm or Whole Foods. And they've got several different lines. The people at Palm are very knowledgeable and they can help you. And you can go on Renew's website.
Thank you.
And have a look as well. You're welcome.
So I have a question. It's Julie.
Hi, Julie.
I scored way better than I thought I would.
Oh, good.
But I feel like I should be a 10.
Okay.
Well, maybe not a 10, maybe a 6. So I was shocked, actually, to be honest. So.
Okay. Which part?
I
do you mind sharing which questions?
Let me go. I've switched off now, but I mean, I think it was probably the first 3. Like, I don't have any anti-inflammatory. I do have IBS. I do crave certain things, but that's basically it.
You do. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing a little bit. You do crave certain things?
Yeah, like I crave my sugars a little bit, but I mean, I'm not excessive. We eat clean, home cooked.
Yeah.
And I
you eat the same breakfast every day?
No, I'm down to 1 meal a day.
And why is that?
Because my stomach can't handle it.
It sounds like we should have a chat, Julie.
Okay.
Yeah, unless you want to share more of that here, but
no. So I've tried intermittent fasting and it's working for me right now.
Okay.
I was just curious. Like, I thought, I'm really doing well on the score.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that we can't be truly healthy long term doing that kind of intermittent fasting. Our bodies require fuel to stabilize blood sugar, to keep our pancreas and our gallbladder working, the bile in our liver. If you're not using that, and if your stomach can't handle eating more than once a day, I would suggest that maybe your digestion is really suffering. Maybe it starts with the enzymes in your mouth, maybe it's the hydrochloric acid, but that would take some working together to figure out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I eat lots of greens, but they don't agree with me.
Yeah. That's one of the top gut health symptoms, actually, poor gut health symptoms and IBS. I would say that all on its own is a big sign of digestion issues, and then an unbalanced microbiome.
Right.
But it's fixable.
Okay.
Not to
Good to
worry.
know.
It's fixable. Yes.
So, actually, one last
Sure.
question, just because I'm interested. my daughter has recommended some test. I think it's a biome. Oh, I have to go back to her email. Hold on.
Is it a new pasta out? Or?
No, it's just a test where you send in a
Biome.
sample.
Biome.
Biome, yes.
Yes.
What do you think?
I was
about
actually
that?
I was gonna add it to my talk that, you know, even a couple of years ago, I did a talk on our gut flora, and I ventured to guess that within 10 years, having our gut microbiome tested for all those species will be as commonplace as having our blood pressure taken. And boy, did I have the time frame wrong, because it's here. It's here, it's happening. And actually, that's one of the things that I do in my practice. Nutrigenomics, we do a little bit of genetic testing and figure out which foods work best for your genetic predisposition. Biome is VIOME, is a company that you can order a test kit online, and you send in a poop sample and they test it for the species and what species you have in there and what is flourishing and what is not. The only problem with that is that, you know, it depends what's going through your system at that point. So I think it's great. It's a great starting place. But for you, for instance, Julie, if you're only eating once a day, you know, at the other end of that, when you haven't eaten, it would have a different composition than it did when you first ate.
Okay.
If you get what I mean.
I do. I was just interested.
Yeah. I've had several clients do that testing, and it really gives us a bit of a snapshot. Okay. It's great. You're welcome.
Can you say something more about the same breakfast every day?
Yeah. Do you know how many of my clients come to me? They sit down and they say, I have a great diet. I don't understand what's wrong. I eat oatmeal every day, and I've eaten oatmeal for the last 25 years. Well, that might be part of the problem, because our digestion gets used to eating the same food every day and stops producing the enzymes for that food and the hydrochloric acid and all the other components that come into our digestion. And as a matter of fact, if we eat the same foods constantly for years, there's a very good likelihood that you become sensitive to that food. It actually works in reverse. Yes. So variety is key. You know, no more the same meal, no more than 3 days in a row, and then switch it up. Because I am also a big believer that we have to batch cook. We don't want to cook big meals every single day. So yes, we can eat leftovers, but that doesn't count.
So the breakfast protein smoothie every day is not a good idea.
The which, I'm sorry?
The protein smoothie for breakfast every day is not a good idea.
No, switch it up. If you like your smoothies for breakfast, just switch them up. And if anybody's interested, please just email me. I've got a whole smoothie recipe collection put together. So never will the smoothies be the same.
Okay.
Jennifer?
Yes.
So I was brought up with everything in moderation, and I haven't heard you say that yet.
Of course. We're talking about gut microbiome for sure. Everything in moderation. Alcohol, coffee. I mean, okay, we're going to start to get really complicated here, because in moderation affects our pH balance of our body. It affects, you know, how our livers are metabolizing our hormones even. It gets very complex. So yes, everything in moderation. But if you were trying to rebuild your microbiome, I would go easy on the things that damage it.
So is some sugar a real no-no?
It depends what you're trying to accomplish. And I know even for myself that during COVID, we were making more cakes, and carrot cake is my thing, and cream cheese icing. Well, I'm telling you, it was like a gateway drug. Like I would have that piece and I could not stop. Within 2 days, my husband and I would have that whole cake finished. And so I know myself, I'm better off not having the sugar in the house. I don't miss it if it's not here, but I can't stop if it is. So sugar is a problem in that way, right? Yes. And remember who you're feeding. So what the choices that you put on your plate, are you trying to feed your cravings or in other words, the undesirable friends? Because it is the bacteria and yeasts overgrowth that crave the sugar.
So
Thank you.
Talking about refined sugar or all
sugar? You know that
honey, maple syrup.
I'm talking
better, but not good.
You know, honey has some benefits. Honey has lots of antibacterial, antiviral products, and it has a lot of enzymes in there that are beneficial to our body, as does maple syrup. In moderation. There we go. I'm talking more simple carbs, like a bagel. How many people have a bagel and jam for breakfast? That is nothing but sugar. As soon as that bagel hits your stomach, it is converted to glucose almost immediately, spikes your blood sugar, sends out all the insulin, gathers it all up again, and then we do our dip. So it's in this blood sugar spikes and dips that we actually do a lot of damage to our friends. Yes. So refined foods, all our packaged and processed foods really are just sugar. And the manufacturers, seriously, their marketing is brilliant because they will say, oh, fortified with. Well, let me tell you, if a food has to be fortified, there's a problem because Mother Nature's foods have everything that we need. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I was amazed to discover when I was buying table salt one day, because you think you should never run out of some of these things, and miraculously I did.
Yeah.
And I discovered that the ingredients on the box of table salt, it's not just salt, it had sugar in it.
Sugar and chlorine.
All over it.
And chlorine. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Salt is a whole other topic as well, and that's something I would recommend all of you switch from iodized table salt to either Himalayan pink or sea salt. And the reason for that, there is actually 80 known trace minerals in pink salt and sea salt that our bodies actually require. And our soils are so deficient in those minerals now, the growing practices of our food, that sea salt is a great way to get those back into your body.
Does it have iodine though?
We get enough iodine if you're eating a well-rounded diet. All you need to do is eat a little bit of sushi and you've got all the iodine you need. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about fiber?
I thought I talked a lot about fiber, but I will. Soluble and insoluble fibers are what our bodies need.
I guess how much do we need a day? Is there such a thing? Or
I think if we're eating mostly a plant-based diet with high quality proteins, lots of nuts and seeds, good omega-3 fats, we're getting all that we need. If you're having trouble with constipation, there could be many issues. It might not just be fiber, it's motility in the gut. which is again, you need to work with a nutritionist on that. We may be looking at some IBS problems and Sibo. Does anybody know what Sibo is? So it's kind of when Sibo is an acronym for small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. So it's when the undesirable bacteria from our large colon migrates back up into our small intestine, and it wreaks havoc in there. That's when some motility issues can be a big problem, and we need to really work on diet and get that back where it belongs.
So are you recommending people do not eat meat?
Not at all. No.
Okay.
I am not. I do suggest that people search for the highest quality meats and dairy products that they can find. I don't think that our commercial growing practices for beef and chicken are something that nourishes our body very well. There's lots of farms, we're all local, so Little Butcher in Newport Village, Meat Craft, and the new one on Moody and St. John's. They all carry very high quality meats, grass-fed beef. So if you're going to eat butter, the butter from a grass-fed cow is so nourishing. It is a saturated fat that our brains need. We all, to produce hormones, we need saturated fats. So definitely, I'm not a proponent of being vegan.
Your grass-fed butter, you can buy that at Palm?
You can, yes. And if any of you ever go out to Maple Ridge, I think it's called Maple Ridge Cheese Crafters. They make their own grass-fed butter. And actually, as you drive out Dewdney Trunk, you can see their cows on one side of the field and their little shop on the other side. And that's where they make all their butter, cheese. Oh, their cheeses are delicious.
It's called?
Yeah. I believe it's called Maple Ridge Cheese Crafters.
Golden Ears Cheese Crafters.
Thank you. And they're usually at the farmers markets as well.
Okay.
I've been seeing on the internet several things about tomatoes and that they're not healthy for a person.
There's a whole other topic. So that's the controversy of nightshade plants. And nightshades, some people don't do well with them. I'm one of them. I tend to get very achy joints when I eat tomatoes. Now I'm talking mostly canned tomatoes, processed tomatoes. If I eat tomatoes fresh out of my backyard garden, not an issue. So again, I think it comes down to quality. But people that are prone to arthritis and autoimmune diseases it's highly suggested that you leave the nightshade plants alone. So that includes white potatoes, my friends, and green peppers, red peppers, all the bell peppers. Those are all nightshade plants.
Mm-hmm. Tomatoes?
Tomatoes are a nightshade, yes.
Is that the lectin thing? The whole lectin thing?
No, lectin is grains. That's Mother Nature's protective coating on a seed. Say even lentils or brown rice, I soak for 6 to 12 hours before I cook it. And it's that soaking process that the lectins are released. It's a protein that can cause gut issues. Actually, even if you use an Instant Pot to cook your beans or any of your grains, the high heat will kill the lectins as well.
I have a question, Jen. So talking about nightshades and peppers and tomatoes, my husband has arthritis, and they were told us to focus on a Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
But is that not nightshade vegetables?
Lots of them.
So that's a bit of a
So the Mediterranean diet is one of the most studied diets and documented with science. And it has been shown to be one of the healthiest diets for most people. There's lots of tweaks that you can do to the Mediterranean diet. But really what it's all about is what I mentioned earlier. It's lots of good omega-3 fatty acids. It's sardines, wild salmon, good grains, just really a good, well-rounded diet. So low on the processed meats or the commercially raised meats.
Great, thank you.
And processed foods. But if your husband is suffering with arthritis, I would suggest try to eliminate white potatoes, especially, and the peppers. Right now is tomato season, and if you're growing your own tomatoes, I would say give those a try. But if you're buying greenhouse, hydroponically grown, chemical fertilizer grown, never in the sunlight kind of growing, don't bother.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay.
So you would recommend not using, I'm a vegetarian. You would recommend not using canned beans?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but if you're going to cook them as from a dried bean, I would say to soak those first.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I use canned beans.
Of using the canned beans. I cook my lentils from scratch, but the beans, it's easier to use the canned ones.
Right.
You know?
And so do you eat fish?
No, I don't, no.
No. And so how do you get your fats?
My fats? Well, I do eat butter and I do use olive oil.
All right, you're good. Good. Yeah. That's another tip actually I will share with you, that a lot of our olive oil we purchase in the stores is not pure olive oil, even though it says so on the thing, on the label. And to make it's a huge controversy, and the government is getting involved in that now, and they're changing how we buy it. But there's several stores around that are certified pure olive oil, and one again is in Newport Village, and it's called Olive the Best. Her olive oils and balsamic vinegars, fermented food actually, are amazing. And so if you're going to buy oil, get the best quality that you can.
What about avocado oil?
I'm on the fence, but in moderation. How's that?
Okay, good to know.
Okay. Olive oil is not for high heat cooking, but a high quality olive oil can be used in a much higher heat than our mixed oils.
So organic canola is okay for high?
I suggest that canola oil is one of the first oils that you remove from your diet. All the seed oils, canola, safflower, sunflower.
So what should you use for high heat cooking then?
A high quality olive oil you can saute with, or you can use your avocado oil. But canola oil is a known problem.
The grilling, if you want to really do high heat on the grilling pan.
Avocado oil or butter.
Grapeseed?
Again, I'm on the fence.
Okay.
It's
not coconut oil.
Yeah, you can use coconut oil. Yeah, and if you buy what's called a refined coconut oil, it doesn't have as much of the coconut flavor.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that stuff from Costco is too coconutty.
I know, it is. I agree.
Yeah, okay.
Lots of information, eh?
Yeah. Okay, so you can, at Newport, then you can buy the high quality olive oil that you can use for grilling. Okay.
Yeah, I do. I believe it goes up. You can ask Daniela, she owns the shop. I believe it's up at about 400 degrees for the pure olive oil. But don't try that with a Costco olive oil.
No,
Yeah.
it's bad.
The other issue is expense, because the boutique olive oil shops, it's really can be very expensive.
It can. And so you want to use your olive oil for using it raw, like in a salad dressing. I will tell you, quite often I just drizzle the olive oil on my veggies and a little bit of herbamare, or sea salts, and that's my fat. So that's when I can taste the flavor of the olive oil and thoroughly enjoy it. But add salad dressings because you're eating it raw.
So Jen, sorry, just to step back, did you say that balsamic vinegar is a fermented product?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yes. Do any of you make your own sourdough bread? That's another fermented food, by the way. And if you're going to eat bread, a lot of people that can't tolerate gluten can tolerate sourdough bread. And if any of you are interested, I have a recipe that it took me almost 40 loaves to perfect, but I'm willing to share that with any of you. And I make at least a loaf a week, and once a week I try to keep it to once a week. I have my slice of sourdough bread for breakfast, and I just drizzle olive oil all over it and balsamic vinegar, and love it. Delicious.
So going back to fermented things like sauerkraut, would you recommend what you can buy in a jar at Thrifties, or what are your recommendations?
Always buy it from the refrigerator section of any store, and it is a new diet trend, a food trend right now. So palm carries several different types. People are getting so creative in what they're fermenting. Whole Foods carries them. As long as it comes from the refrigerator section and not the center aisles, it's good. And read the label. All it should say is cabbage and water and salt.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, a sideline to that, it might say sauerkraut, cabbage, carrots, caraway seeds, or whatever blend they've made.
Yeah. So what you're saying is whole foods from around the outside of the grocery store. Yeah.
We've been hearing that for a while, haven't we? Yeah. And at first it seems like it's much more expensive to eat that way, but it's actually way cheaper. Once you have your pantry stocked with all of your good whole foods, you'll notice a huge drop in your grocery bill. Yeah.
Did you want to say anything about dairy products?
Well, I did. That from your commercially raised cows, that milk, I wouldn't touch it. And of course, that's what they make our processed cheeses from. You don't want any of that. You want real cheese. And so if you're going to get a cheese, get ones that come from Europe or real high quality, and enjoy it. I mean, it's not something I would suggest to be in your diet every day, but it's great to add in for variety.
Can I ask why you don't recommend a vegan diet?
Oh,
I'm vegan,
I'm sorry to all vegans out there. I just feel that it's very tough to be a healthy long-term vegan. We need vitamin B12, which only comes from meat. So I will say that I have several vegan clients that have conceded to take animal-based supplements like B12, and it's made a huge difference for them. I don't recommend that we eat as much meat as we were raised to think we need. Like really, eating meat more than 3 times a week isn't That's all we need. Yeah. So, and that's where your grocery bill goes down too, because you're buying higher quality meat, but you're eating less of it. Once your body gets all of those nutrients, it stops craving the quantity. It just wants quality.
Thank you.
So what about if you have to eat in a restaurant?
That's one of the things I teach my clients is how to shop the menu. Yes. Yeah. Well, and of course you choose your restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions?
What about grains in general?
Again, it's a very individual thing. Some people tolerate them and some don't. I think I was saying to Jen before you all logged on that I think that we're all individual and our microbiomes are as individual as our fingerprints. And then we have all the genetic predispositions that go into that, ethnic background, comfort foods.
It's just stopped. It's just become unstable.
Sorry?
I don't know what that was.
So if your body tolerates grains, I would suggest that you start soaking them first. Even quinoa should be rinsed, although quinoa technically is a seed. Rinsing it helps to take away some of the protective coating on those seeds as well. So you're getting into the whole lectin theory with grains, is that, yeah. Do they bother you? No. Okay, you're lucky. Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
Hi, Jennifer. I've just started making yogurt in my Instant Pot. I've just been using, for starter, just commercial yogurt. And I wonder, is there a better source for healthy bacteria for yogurt?
In the refrigerator section, again, you can buy the starter for kefir and yogurts. And I recommend those because I don't know how much of the good stuff is really in our commercial yogurts. And again, making your own yogurt, I would highly recommend that you get the milk from grass-fed cows, an organic grass-fed. Yeah. It's actually been shown if they do the nutrient profile for the fats from our commercially raised cows, our milk, and the fats from grass-fed, they're completely different.
I'm from Ireland originally, and I can tell you, like the dairy is completely different. Yes. And I'll still go out of my way to buy Irish butter here, Kerrygold. And it's a very special treat just to have a little bit of Kerrygold.
Oh, nice.
It's completely different.
I know, we've really made a mess of our, anyway, whole other talk.
Jennifer, what about goat's milk?
Well, for young children that are, that need to have a milk, that is the closest to mother's milk, for sure. Goat's milk hasn't been treated the way our cow's milk has so far, but yeah, I mean, it's far more compatible with the human body than cow's milk is. I mean, cows, look at the animal, what that milk is built to grow. We're not meant to grow that way.
Sounding like a vegan.